Guys, finally we are done with CLAT 2019. My name is Aman and I'll be doing a quick analysis of today's CLAT examination. Firstly, it was one of those examination papers where everyone had a feel good feeling. Everyone who came out of the examination hall felt that the exam was good, felt that the exam was easy. Everyone has attempted close to 150 to 170 questions, and now everything is dependent on the final results. Now, why was this a feel good examination? Why? Because most of the sections were on the easier side. I would say that out of the last three class which we have seen, this was perhaps one of the easiest, if not the easiest, but yeah, one of the easiest exams in the last 3 years. Also, there were few issues. So till last year, CLAT used to be online, and this year it was paper, pen based paper. But what has not changed is that there were still few errors. There were at least 2 to 3 errors which I could identify. I'm sure there could be more. So as we get more information, but there were 2 to 3 errors in the paper. Except for that, it was a good show by the CLAT committee, and I would say that the paper was more or less on the expected lines. Now let's quickly let's start with the analysis part here. Let's start with the English section. Most of the students started with the English section first. So English, again, it was a very simple section, a little on the lengthier side, but I would say it was very doable. RC was really easy. The questions on sentence correction were easy. Foreign words, there were 4 to 5 questions on foreign words. Again, I would say 2 to 3 were difficult, but at the same time 2 to 3 were very easy, very doable. If not easy, very doable, so students could have guessed that right. Other than that, again, there were no major surprises. In fact, if we compare this to what we had seen in AILET, kids were more or less happy with the section. Next was the GK and the what we call the general knowledge section. Again, no major surprises here. Most of the questions were from current affairs. In fact, there were at least 3 or 4 questions directly from elections. So if you had prepared well for the last 1 month or last 2 months, most of the questions in fact were from the last 2 months, right? Elections, there were like at least 3 or 4 questions, and if there has to be a question on election, there has to be a question on Mr. Modi as well. So there was one question on Mr. Modi as well. Other than that, there were few questions, at least I think 5 to 6 questions, which students could have left. Those were not exactly easy questions, but I still would say that a score of 28 to 32 was still very much achievable. A lot of students have been saying that GK was very easy. I would not say that it was very easy. There were few tricky questions, and a lot of times when we are marking, right, we are much more confident than what we are when we are analyzing our exam. So I would say that 28, 32 is a very good score for this particular section. Coming on to mathematics, again, a lot of CLAT aspirants don't pay attention to the math section, but this year math section could be the deciding factor, because most of the other sections were pretty doable, and hence students who were good at math, right, they clearly seem to have an edge here. I've spoken to a lot of students, so I think 15 to 16 questions were very doable. So an attempt of 14 to 16 questions is what I feel was good. And but yeah, students who have not done well in this particular section, again, I understand that there is no sectional cutoff, but because all the other sections were more or less very doable, math could be a deciding factor. I would say GK and math for this exam could be the deciding factor, where we are expecting cutoffs to go high. Coming on to the legal aptitude section, again, this was a surprise in today's exam, because all the questions were from legal reasoning. We were expecting, kind of expecting, because of the last 3 years, most of the questions. So the normal rule has been that there will be 35 questions from legal reasoning and 10 to 15 questions from legal knowledge or maxims or reason assertion. But this year there were no other questions other than legal reasoning. When students got to the legal reasoning section, on the face of it, legal reasoning section looked like a cakewalk, right? The first 5 or 10 questions seemed like very easy, but the questions, a few of the questions were tricky. They were like, it involved a deeper understanding of the principle. A lot of questions were from the previous year papers with slight twist in the principle. So if the student was confident, or if a student was careful enough, he or she would have realized the twist. But other than that, it was doable. A little lengthy, yes, because all 50 were legal reasoning questions. But at the same time, I've been hearing a lot of students saying that legal reasoning again was very easy. It wasn't that easy. So I would say 40 to 42 was a good attempt. And if anyone is getting a score of 38 plus, that's an excellent score for this section. 38 or 40 also, right? Because few questions were very straightforward, but few questions required a deeper understanding of the legal principles and the facts. Now, coming on to the last section, which was the logical reasoning section. Now, logical reasoning section was the easiest section of the lot. It all depended when were you attempting the section. If you're attempting the section last, then there could have been few issues because of the legal aptitude section being a little lengthy, or the English section again, it was easy but a little lengthy again. But LR for sure was the easiest section. It was dominated by AR, analytical reasoning, lots of questions. There were 3 puzzles, and all 3 were very doable, very easy puzzle. I would say 2 of them were very easy. There were 5 or 6 CR questions as well, which were a little tricky and which would have taken little time. But overall, students who have appeared for a lot of mocks, who have practiced a lot of logical reasoning questions, they would not have faced any problem in this particular section. So if we look at all the 5 sections, all in all, we can say that it was an easy paper. I've been hearing that people are expecting the cutoffs to go as high as 155 or 160 for the top 3. I would say that paper was easy, but I would still say that the cutoffs for the top 3, again, it is not easy to predict cutoffs when the paper has been easy or that easy. So I would admit that it is not that easy to predict cutoffs, but I would say that 145 to 150 should be good enough for the top 3. And by top 3 I mean NLS Bangalore, NALSA and NUJS. So 145 and 150 is what I think would take you to the top 3. Thank you.